Will there even be a funeral for him? Or will the city itself serve as his memorial? Will the thousands who called him family through the radio come to say goodbye? And will his beloved daughter, the one who always said his voice was her lullaby, stand beside his casket, listening for that voice one last time? For the first time in 44 years, Philadelphia's 93.3 WMMR didn't open with his voice. No. Greetings, citizens. No soft laugh echoing across the city. Just dead air, an eerie, impossible quiet that seemed to stretch through every diner, car, and shop that had grown up with him. Pierre Robert, the man who was Philadelphia's soundtrack, was gone. When the news broke on October 29, 2025, the city froze. The lights on the console at WMMR glowed red, unmoving. His desk was still cluttered with vinyl sleeves, scribbled notes, and half-drunk coffee, as though he'd simply stepped away for a moment. But he wasn't coming back. What happened inside that house where he was found, alone, surrounded by music, remains wrapped in quiet mystery. But one thing was certain. The airwaves themselves felt haunted. Pierre Robert wasn't just a radio host. He was a presence. A steady, warm voice that Philadelphia trusted. Born in Northern California, he began as a dreamer on the West Coast airwaves at KSAN in San Francisco, one of the cradles of the counterculture sound. But something restless stirred in him. A call from across the country, where a city known for its grit and soul waited. He drove cross-country in an old Volkswagen bus, the kind that smelled of freedom and long nights. That bus would become legend itself. Part of his mythology, like a modern-day troubadour carrying vinyl instead of a guitar. When he arrived at WMMR in 1981, no one could have known he would stay for 4 decades, carving himself into the DNA of Philadelphia radio. Every day at noon, his voice rolled like velvet through speakers. Greetings, citizens. That line alone became a kind of benediction. Pierre didn't just play rock, he lived it. He believed in its soul, its rebellion, and its poetry. He gave local artists their first spins, treated young musicians with the same reverence he gave to legends. He wasn't a DJ talking at people. He was talking with them, like a friend who always had the right song for whatever life threw your way. Listeners used to say that Pierre's voice had a strange magic. It never aged. Decades passed, technology changed, rock itself evolved, but his tone, calm, amused, endlessly curious, stayed exactly the same. It felt immortal, as if the airwaves had chosen him. His shows became rituals. Coffee break music marathon, workforce blocks, Pierre's vinyl cut. He spun records by The Who, Zeppelin, Springsteen. But he also introduced new names to old souls. He was the bridge between generations, proof that rock wasn't just sound as it was communion. Thanksgiving on WMMR was his day. For hours he'd play Alice's Restaurant by Arlo Guthrie, laughing softly between verses. It wasn't just tradition, it was his gentle rebellion against time itself. But behind the laughter and the endless playlists, friends noticed something quieter in his final years. A certain pause between sentences, a heavier sigh between tracks. The man who gave so much of himself to the music rarely talked about himself at all. October 28th, 2025. A normal day on air. Pierre's last broadcast ended just before dusk. The studio lights dimmed. He closed the mic, signed off with his trademark, "Rock on, my friends," and smiled. Producers say he lingered longer than usual, running his fingers across the old vinyl covers one last time. Then he left, locking the door behind him. No one knew it was goodbye. The next morning, when he didn't show up, calls went unanswered. A producer drove to his house, and there, among the familiar chaos of records, concert posters, and the faint smell of incense, they found him. Peaceful. Still. Gone. The coroner's report said natural causes, but those who knew him best said it felt like he simply faded into the music. As if the sound waves that carried his life finally carried him home. When the news hit, Philadelphia broke. The Preston and Steve morning team, his closest on-air family, went live that day, their voices trembling as they tried to say his name. John Bon Jovi called him a friend of music itself. Billy Joel's team sent flowers with a card that read, "Thanks for believing in us all." Outside the WMMR building, people gathered silently. Some brought candles, others brought guitars and small radios. As the night deepened, they turned them on, all tuned to 93.3, and let the sound of Pierre's old recordings fill the air. His voice drifted between the buildings, echoing down Broad Street like a ghost made of sound. Pierre never chased fame. It found him because of his heart, said John Bon Jovi softly. He made every artist feel like their song mattered. That's rare, even in this business. From the WMMR studio came words soaked in emotion. He wasn't just a host, he was the pulse of our station. Every hallway, every mic, still carries his laugh. A former intern wrote, "He once told me, 'Kindness is the best sound you can make on radio.' I never forgot that." Listeners flooded the airwaves with memories. One voice cracked on the line. "He got me through my divorce, my loneliness, my nights on the road. I never met him, but he was my friend." Bruce Springsteen's message arrived like a quiet song. He believed in the power of music, in the people who made it, and in the souls who needed it. That belief kept rock alive. Another tribute came from Preston and Steve. Every broadcast was a love letter to the city. Pierre didn't just play records, but he built connections, spun hope, turned mornings into something worth waking up for. A local band left flowers and a handwritten note outside the WMMR doors. "You played us before anyone else dared. You made us feel seen. You made us believe." A longtime listener wrote, "There will never be silence in Philly," because his voice still lingers between the songs. And one final tribute, left anonymously online, seemed to capture it all. He was the soundtrack to our lives, the warmest echo in a loud world. The music hasn't stopped, Pierre. It's just playing somewhere higher. Pierre Robert wasn't just Philadelphia radio. He was its pulse. When he was inducted into the Philadelphia Music Alliance Walk of Fame in 2019, he stood there in his denim jacket and band pins, smiling shyly, as the crowd chanted his name. He never saw himself as a celebrity, just a fan who got lucky enough to hold the mic. But his real legacy wasn't fame, it was connection. He gave musicians hope. He gave the lonely something to listen to. And in a world that keeps moving faster, he reminded people to slow down and listen. Not just to music, but to each other. Even after death, recordings of his voice continue to play. During tribute shows, fans say they still feel him. A sudden warmth when his laugh echoes through a car stereo, a phantom greeting between songs. It's as if Pierre never left the airwaves at all, as if his signal just shifted to a frequency beyond ours. As of now, public details about his funeral, location, ceremony, or attendance have not been released by his family or WMMR. The studio lights dim. The record stops spinning. But somewhere in the static between stations, in the echo between songs, you can almost hear him. A whisper, a chuckle. "Greetings, citizens." It's faint, but it's there. Pierre Robert's story doesn't end with death. It lingers in every riff that plays, every heart that beats in time with rock and roll. He was more than a DJ. He was the soul of a city, the friend on the other side of the radio, the proof that even when the body is gone, the voice can still haunt the air. And maybe that's the secret of true legends. They never really say goodbye. They just fade into the static, waiting for someone to tune in and remember.